On behalf of all the sponsors, they're encouraging you during the networking time to go visit each of the tables and look what's available. So we're on to our next session, which is statewide workforce programs available for businesses. And we have our panel here that is going to talk about specific programs that they represent and that they work with. So we'll start out with Rebecca.
All right. Well, thank you for having me here today. Let's see. Get the thing going here. So my name is Rebecca Perrotti. I'm a business service coordinator for Central Minnesota Jobs and Training Services. And as you see here, we're a nonprofit employment and training agency. We're kind of coming up on our 35th year of doing business, helping individuals and businesses. So what we're really out there to do is to provide some of those connections. As Senator Klobuchar mentioned, individuals need help matching up their skills with the jobs. And so I'll be sharing some things with you today about how we work with individuals and with businesses to make some of those connections. I wanted to mention also that as an agency, we're a career force partner. I don't know if Della will mention that or not, but formerly known as the Workforce Center, recently has gone through rebranding, so now you will start to see workforce centers called Career Force Minnesota, and then the different locations. So in this area, of course, we have one here in town. That's where my office desk is. However, I do work in kind of a 5-county area, so I travel around and about. And there's also one in Cambridge serving this area. As an agency, we also operate with state, federal, and private funding. So our state and federal funding, as you might imagine, kind of fluctuates. So we're always trying to supplement with other things as we can. And recently, we're wrapping up a 3-year privately funded grant that allowed us to do work in career pathways in retail. This is our service region. We actually serve 11 counties across central Minnesota, and we kind of go across, not quite to South Dakota. And then I serve the 5 counties in, Pine, Chisago, Kanabec, Mille Lacs, and Isanti. This here you can't read really, but what it represents are the individual people that we serve. So as I mentioned, we're an employment and training agency. So we are helping people all the time with either finishing, if it's youth, we might be helping them finish their schooling, maybe helping them go on to what their next thing is. If they're getting their diploma, their GED, maybe some technical training. We have a lot of special programs with our youth programs, Youth Build, lots of great opportunities for specially funded grants and projects that we can help kids or young adults get the skills they need and get connected to the businesses. We also work with a variety of adults. It might be people who are currently receiving public assistance. It might be people who've had a longer career and now they find themselves laid off, so we help them take a look at what their next options might be. That can sometimes include technical training, on-the-job training, and some things like that to help them get back into the workforce and find their next path. But what I'm really here to talk to you about today specifically is our business services. So on the one side, our staff are always working with those individuals that I mentioned, helping them find their way, helping them understand the local labor market, what training needs there are, or what paths there are for them to get into the jobs we have across the region. But on my side, I work with the businesses to help figure out what are those things that we could be helping people get into. So we do a lot of partnering with the colleges, with business, with our economic development partners, and stay really involved in our community so we can try to know what you need as businesses. First and foremost, we want to connect businesses with qualified workers. Like it says there, from youth to seniors, entry level to experienced. We have a variety of people in all different stages of their life, skill levels that we are looking to help place. If we can, when a business contacts us, if you're looking for somebody today, if Rose is looking for a welder, she might contact me, for instance, and say, boy, Rebecca, I really need somebody to fill this position. We will look through those who we're currently working with to see if we can make a direct referral to her of someone with the right skills or someone with the close to enough right skills that we can provide some on-the-job training through our programs and help them get up to speed. Might I have a welder every day? No, not necessarily. But as we work with a variety of businesses in different industries, we also try to just make those matches when we can. And if we can't, we try to help the business with other resources to find what they need. Connecting with employee training is what I'm going to really focus on in the next few slides, is helping you understand what those training resources are so that we can make some of those connections or fill some of the gaps. And then business resources. We stay connected with a lot of groups, as I already mentioned, in the community, chambers, economic development, schools, the colleges, and just try to really know as many people as we can know, so that if a business comes to us where we have a conversation and we know they're needing something, if it's not something that we provide, we're going to connect you to one of our other partners and make sure that you get what you need. So the first type of, I mentioned one of the things that I want to really focus on is that work-based training. And so the first one I'm going to talk about is work experience or transitional jobs. And so in this case, we are able to take people who maybe are transitioning to a new career, maybe they've been out of the workforce for a while, or maybe they're young people who haven't really had a lot of job experience trying to make their first impression in the work world. We can provide an opportunity for them to be hosted by a business. So the business provides them with training, with work to do, teaches them how to do things. We use the dollars that we have in our program to pay them a wage, and our agency, CMJTS, is the employer of record. So the business is on the hook to train them, give them a safe place to learn, hopefully build their skills. Sometimes they need soft skills, sometimes they have some of those and they just need the work skills, or a combination of both. But it really gives them an opportunity to get their foot in the door and learn some skills that they need for the workforce. You can see there it kind of notes the limited work history and job skills, but the transitional jobs is something we've added because it allows people to kind of maybe move in a little bit different direction. This is a temporary opportunity. People are placed in a business for a period of time. It depends on who it is. Maybe it's 3 months. If it's a student who can only work after school or maybe on a weekend, then it might extend a little bit longer through the school year. The business isn't obligated to pay or to hire this person at the end of the time. It's just a temporary training. However, we do have a lot of times where if a business is hiring, it's kind of been a nice trial period for the business with that person, and they're perfectly eligible to be hired. In fact, most times people have that goal of that real employment for afterwards. And so a lot of times people will get hired after work experience, but not always, and you're not required to keep them. On-the-job training is something that we also do quite a lot. On-the-job training is meant for businesses who are hiring someone new. It allows the business to receive up to a 50% reimbursement of the employee's wages during a time period while they're training. So in this case, you have to be hiring someone for a regular, ongoing, typically full-time job. And as you do the training for them, they're training on what you need them to do. It's someone that's inside your business who's providing that training to them. We help work with you and to review their resume, review your job description, and put together a realistic training plan for the things that people are going to be learning while they're in that on-the-job training. And then you're reimbursed for a portion of that extra training cost. Whenever we can, like it said in one of the previous slides, we like to refer candidates to businesses, people that we're working with, and say, hey, we have somebody that's applying for your position right now, and if they're a good fit for you, they also can bring this benefit of on-the-job training along with them. If we don't have someone, well, we wouldn't, yeah, we'll refer someone if we have them. What I meant to say was then if you as a business are coming across candidates who you think, oh, she talked about, you know, sometimes people are laid off, they might be part of the program. If you have someone in mind, we can certainly also consider whether they could be a fit for the program so that you can take advantage of that opportunity. So we have to screen them, see if they're eligible, that kind of thing, but we will do that as well to see if we can help bring this benefit to the business. And then the other one that I really want to highlight that we've been using more and more is incumbent worker training. And so over the years and working with businesses and trying to place people into jobs, you know, we often would come across businesses who said, well, can't you just give me some dollars because I'm already training my staff? And of course, a lot of our training dollars are tied to an individual's person's eligibility. So if Della is enrolled in our program, then we can have her do an on-the-job training with your business if it's appropriate fit or a work experience, what have you. But we can't just give those dollars to the business directly. However, now, over the last few years, we've been able to use some of our training dollars specifically for that incumbent worker training, meaning we actually can give money to businesses to train their existing workers. So how that works is that a business is able to apply to us, kind of like a small grant application, and share the project, the training project that they would like to use for their workers. And we kind of work with them on that. What can we fund? What can't we fund? There's quite a few things that we can do. It usually can't be for things like really required training, like if you have to have CPR and first aid for your job, maybe it's not that. But it is a great tool to take some of your existing workers, maybe move them up into a supervisory role, maybe add some specific skills that they could use to make the office more efficient. So this is an opportunity for a business really to access some funds to do some training and upskilling of their current workforce. I put in a couple local highlights here. One that we've done a lot of different things with, Ashworth Appliance and Electronics, is located here in Mora and in Pease. We've been working with them off and on for about 15 years, as it says. We've done a lot of on-the-job training contracts with them. And the one I really wanted to highlight is that an example of incumbent worker training that we did with them this last spring was to send one of their employees to one of the few appliance technician training academies in the country. I guess there's only a couple of them. You go there, you get customer service skills in addition to all the skills that you need to repair people's appliances, which unfortunately they do seem to break more often than what you would imagine for the price you pay, right? So you need those people. So we were able to do that, and that helped them expand their business, and it helped this gentleman to, be promoted from the job that he was doing in the warehouse to being a repair technician. We've also done some work with them in customer service training and certification, and they were a partner with us in our Reimagine Retail grant. We also have done a lot of work for a long time with Coburn's. They sponsor a lot of people to do the work experience that I mentioned. They're really willing to give people a try to try out some skills, and they're also really great at developing people. So if you come in there, you do some training, you show initiative, they're going to probably help you find a spot with them if you want to continue working there. We've had that experience both here at the store in Mora, and we've done a lot of work down at the new store in Isanti with their incumbent workers as well. We've also had someone from Coburn's on our workforce board. They've been a partner in a pilot program for incumbent workers with us, done some on-the-job training as well. And so those are some examples of a couple local businesses. There's others. We've done a lot of work also with Lakes and Pines and others in the community. Just highlighting a few pictures. Construct Tomorrow is something we partner on, helping students have hands-on learning opportunities. Youth Build, like I mentioned, and then we have other resources. So real quickly, we facilitate a human resources cooperative in Cambridge once a month. The next topic is the end of the month, and we're going to have people bring in their performance evaluations and discuss them and see how could that be made more fun, that people will really love them after. We also have, when you have the slides come out from Heidi, I'd ask that you take a look at this. We are trying to create a database of businesses that we can use, businesses who are willing to participate in experiential learning opportunities and things like that for schools or workers. We want to create a database that we can keep, but that when a school maybe contacts us and says we want to go on a tour, we can kind of help them get connected. So that's what that's about. And then a variety of resources for of different things here that you see. So with the work-based training that I mentioned and any of the other services, I would be happy to come out to your business. If you think of someone that, hey, I don't wonder why so-and-so's not doing that already, In my role, I will come right out to the business or to your office and visit with you a little bit more in depth about how does this work and what would it look like for my business or for my organization. So that's what I have. Thank you very much.
Morning, everyone. I'm Della Ludwig. I'm a workforce strategy consultant with the Department of Employment Economic Development. I cover a 13-county region in central Minnesota. So I go all the way from Willmar, Hutchinson, Litchfield, all the way over into this area, into those Pickham counties. So I have a pretty large territory, not as large as Angel's up there on the top left corner of the state, but lots of different activities going on in our area, so kept very busy. Our mission is to develop and innovative workforce solutions and align those resources. Basically what we're doing is we're working in targeted industries. I focus a lot on manufacturing and healthcare. That's probably the two main areas. We also look at transportation and IT, and then like Rebecca said too, retail. Okay, so here are some of the main contributors that we work with. Obviously, business and industry is always at our focus or at our center point. We connect the key stakeholders to the workforce development resources, and then we design the tools and resources to support their businesses. Basically, we are a consultant to help you for free or through your taxes, however you look at it, to assist you with any business needs that you have. Here's the team that I work with throughout DEED. We also work a lot with Minnesota Department of Education, Department of Labor, and then also working with the local workforce development areas, GPS 4593, as well as Career Solutions and CMJTS. Today I'm going to focus more on the grants that are available to you and some other funding opportunities that we have at this point. So the first one we're going to talk about is Minnesota Job Skills Partnership, MJSP. You'll hear it referred to a lot. The main thing with this is to train or retrain your workers. We're trying to keep that high quality jobs in state. To qualify for this type of a grant, you do need to work with an educational institution. It can be a four-year college, it can be a local technical college, however it may be. The grant is actually written by the educational institution, so kind of puts the business off the hook. They are the ones that are going to track everything with this grant. And it is up to a $400,000 partnership in funds. And you can have your training, your business training, anywhere between 12 months and 3 years in duration. The business has to, let me see here, has to have a cash in kind to contribute towards this. But that can be your business, your training room, any of your people assisting with the program, the resources at your building, so on and so forth. If you do not want to start off with the $400,000 training program that is available or the grant that's available, you can actually start with a $50,000. $50,000 it's a short form, it's a much easier process, and I'll give you a few examples of some businesses in the area that have done that. You can qualify for this grant 2 to 3 times a year. They actually look at these grant opportunities, and they are really good at getting back to you and getting you the information quickly. Here are a few local or in this general area that have qualified and are doing the local MJSP grants. So you can see there the top one there is Fond du Lac Tribal Community. They actually worked with the U of M, and then SAPI North America from Cloquet. And what they did is they did a lot of research on their pulp and paper technology and safety training. They have over 640 employees, so that's probably why they went with the largest grant, to make sure that all of their employees were trained on different technology that is available. Anoka Ramsey is listed on here as well. They worked with M&M Machining in Elk River. They did the $50,000 grant, and you can see they did a basic advanced blueprint, reading and inspection, and then advanced case and technology. And Pine Technology and Community College worked with ADSCOT, and they did a $50,000 as well, and they worked on improving processes, procedures, and communications, as well as customer service. The contact is Danielle. She's phenomenal. If you're unsure of how to go about the process or are not familiar enough, you can definitely reach out to myself or Danielle. Some people are always overwhelmed with the process. We can walk you through that. And you don't have to feel like you can only turn in that grant once. You can do a mock draft of it, and we will assist you in making sure it has what it needs to pass through the process. Within the MJSP grant, they have a JTIP, which is the Jobs Training Incentive Program. Any business that is hiring 3 or more employees should be looking at this grant. This is only for Greater Minnesota. So the metro area does not qualify for the JTIP. And what it is again, you're hiring 3 or more employees. The pay has to be equal or higher than the median hourly wage in this county. And in this county, it's $16.31. So if you're starting an employee higher than that in one of those positions, you would qualify for this grant. Maximum of up to $200,000. And then there is a business contribution. But again, that goes into the training, resources, everything else available. So if anything, make sure that you write down this JTIP, and I can talk to you more about this, especially if you're expanding your business. Here are some of the businesses in the area that have taken advantage of this, as well as the amount that they were awarded. So we need somebody in Kanabec County to get up here on this list. So definitely reach out to me and I can help you with that. Danielle actually is the contact down in St. Paul, but I would be your local contact on this and can assist you again with the grant process. So the Minnesota Apprenticeship Initiative, MAI, you'll hear it referred to. It's a grant for employers developing apprenticeships. We want to get more people into the different areas and getting some experience. And how do they do that? So you can receive up to a $5,000 per apprentice, and that money just goes towards their costs, including any of their materials, instruction, everything else that you offer them. Healthcare was really big into this. Even their scrubs would be considered part of the funding that you are paying for the person. We focus specifically on advanced manufacturing, agriculture, healthcare, IT, and transportation with this one. This one is kind of going away. We have a feeling it's going to be replaced with something else, just because it is in its 5th year. But there may still be some opportunity there for you if you're interested in doing apprenticeships. Here are some of the businesses locally that have taken advantage of it. You'll see Imperial Plastics is on there, and then some of the other businesses in the area. LaRohn is the main contact here, as well as Leslie Philman. He'll be here later. So he'll get into a little more detail on that. So the last one I want to talk about is the Work Opportunity Tax Credit. Are any of you taking advantage of this at this point? I would guarantee you every business in here has an employee that you could have gotten this tax credit on. So this is any size for-profit employer, and you can get up to a $9,600 savings per new hire. So while they're going through the interview process, it's one extra piece of paper that you slip in that they complete when they're being hired. They answer a couple questions if they've ever been a veteran, if they've ever been on SNAP, have any type of disability. They can choose to answer it however they want. If they agree or say that they have any of those, it's one extra form that the business then sends in to the government, and you get a tax credit. So you can't technically ask the person, and they can answer that paperwork however they would like. It's a very simple process. I've put it in place at a couple different businesses that I've worked with, and we've saved thousands of dollars. So it's a great program to take advantage of. Karen Marbury down in St. Paul, again, is your contact for that. Again, it's a very easy, simple process, and definitely reach out to me as well, and I can get you more information on it. Switching gears, we have an upcoming event in the St. Cloud area, and we're actually pulling schools as far away as Mora, which will be coming to this event. It's an Exploring Interests and Potential Careers event. It's called EPIC, and it's going to be held on Friday, February 22nd from 8 a.m. till 1 p.m. Schools, we have about 24 different schools attending. 2,500 students will be there, and we're focusing on that 10th grade area. Like Miles had said earlier, that's where we really want to catch them before the 11th, 12th grade, where they kind of already made up their mind. It's a hands-on career exploration event. We have about 200 businesses that are going to be assisting with this event. They will not be there pushing paper, asking for resumes, those kind of things. They are there to get the kids excited about that career pathway. And lots of hands-on activities, changing tires to sonography on, or ultrasounds on moms, those kind of things. So it's going to be a really cool event. The other activity that we have coming up, and I don't think it made the slide, is the second annual Innovative Approaches to Career Readiness. And that's going to be held on Friday, May 3rd. And this Perfect. So that is going to be held again on Friday, May 3rd, and that's going to be at North Branch. And GPS 4593 over in the corner has some flyers on that. I strongly suggest businesses that want to get involved with schools and how do I take that first step to come to this event. So anybody have any questions at this time? I talk fast. I'm sorry. I'll be around. I have my business cards here. My contact information's in the brochure. Make sure to reach out to me if you want any information on any of those programs. It can be a little bit overwhelming, but it's not that hard to get some money in your pocket. Okay? Thank you.
Good morning, I'm Rich Wessels and I'm with the Department of Labor and Industry with the Youth Skills Training Program. So we do have a slight change to your agenda. I will be speaking first from DLI, followed by Dan Solomon. We'll be talking about the pipeline program, and LaRohn Latimer will be here and or is here, and we'll be talking about registered apprenticeship. So you get the DLI trifecta today. The Youth Skills Training Program is the newest program as far as workforce related programs at Department of Labor and Industry. It was passed through legislation in 2017 with bipartisan support, and it's really about creating opportunities for high school students to get that related instruction and paid work experience. So I'll talk about that today. Please visit the website. I will show that at the end. There's some more information on there that you can look up, questions, handouts, things like that. So please keep that in mind. So what is U-Skills training? The goal is really to provide high school students, as I mentioned, with safe and meaningful work experiences in high growth, high demand industries. And the reason for this, I think Miles did a great job earlier talking about some of the needs and some of the challenges that we're facing currently with workforce. And this is really about preparing students for successful careers and addressing some of those shortages that we're currently facing. And how we do that is by providing student learners who are 16 or 17 years of age the opportunity to participate in on-the-job training at employer sites. So what is a student learner? Again, it's a 16 or 17-year-old student that's part of an accredited school program. They're a part-time employee, and they earn both academic credit and employment training through an agreement between the school and the employer. So it's really providing these students with the classroom instruction to learn the skills, and then that paid work experience to go out and practice and expand on those skills. The program requirements for U-Skills training is it has to be a local partnership, and it has to be between a high school and an employer at minimum, but it can include any other partner that you'd like to include in that partnership. Could be workforce group, could be a chamber of commerce, could be a nonprofit, could be a post-secondary institution, whatever makes sense to that partnership to start up a program. As I mentioned already, it does involve related classroom and instruction for high school credit and paid work experience for students that are 16 years of age and older. As part of this program, you are required to provide qualified supervision and safety training, because as part of DLI, we're very much concerned with student safety, employee safety, so we want to make sure that that's part of the program. And based on legislation, at least 80% of the eligible students must graduate that are part of this program, and at least 60% receive an industry recognized credential. And Miles mentioned some of those as well in his presentation. We really want the industry to be involved in this and to provide input on what is going to be important for these students to learn, what is going to be a recognized credential that's going to be meaningful to them as they make that next step into employment. So these are the same industries that Della just mentioned, and you'll see the same thing through pipeline and registered apprenticeship with one exception. The industries that I currently work with are advanced manufacturing, agriculture, the automotive industry, healthcare, and information technology. And question that was already raised is about 16 and 17-year-olds using hazardous equipment. So there certainly are some protections and safeties in place based on child labor laws. Miles mentioned a handout that is on the YST webpage, and it looks like this. It's a 2-page handout, and it's called Student Learners in Manufacturing. And it gives you a list of exactly what a student learner is, what the definition of a student learner is. You can't have a 16 or 17-year-old walk in off the street, hire them in a manufacturing facility, and have them work on some of this equipment. They need to be part of an approved program like YST, or there are other programs out there. The Minnesota Department of Education has a youth apprenticeship program that would also qualify. So this gives you a guide as to what machines and tools that student learner can use and for how much time. As Miles stated, this is not an exhaustive list. There certainly is not every machine listed on here. Sarah Elstra's name is listed at the bottom and her contact information, and she's a great resource and someone that you can contact with questions about this, or you can feel free to contact me as well. I'm happy to help you and answer questions on that. So there's a lot of benefits to U-Skills training. Miles really hit on a lot of them. I think I should have Miles go before me all the time, and I could probably cut my presentation in half. But it's about creating lasting partnerships between education and employers, providing that safe and meaningful employment experience for students. They bring a new energy and new ideas about training future talent. I've heard from employers how beneficial this has been to training their own employees and how to go about doing that. It's about reaching younger students to help fill the needs and skills gaps, and partnering and shaping curriculum to address current trends. As employers, you know what the current trends are, you know what these students need to learn. Coming out of high school, soft skills has been brought up many times, and that's a huge concern, and I'm really happy to see that so many programs and schools are addressing this need, because I hear that from employers all the time. Okay.
Hello?
Thank you. All right. Better get some more charge in, because LaRohn really likes to talk. Where was I? So it's about addressing trends and, again, increasing student skills, knowledge and awareness of high growth, high demand living wage careers. So really what I always tell employers is this program is not about hiring 16 and 17-year-old employees. It's about giving them exposure to your industry, giving some classroom instruction, and then some hands-on training that really allows them to understand what the pathways are to get from high school student to that given industry and that career that they're interested in. There are 4 basic components of U-Skills training, and they are outreach. So I've been going around the state and presenting on U-Skills training, answering questions, consulting with employers, with schools, with other partners about how this might work for your community. Oops. It's also about program approval. So you can become an approved program through the Minnesota Department of Labor and Industry. There's some paperwork that you would complete, and I'd be happy to walk you through that so that you can actually have students go out and be part of a paid work experience like we're discussing. And then the 4th part is grant administration. So there is grant funding associated with this program. Unfortunately, I can only give out 5 grants per year. I wish I had a lot more, and I'll talk more about that in a minute. This is just a quick map that shows some of the interest in U-Skills training throughout the state. Again, those partnerships can include a variety of different organizations or individuals, from schools, employers, chambers of commerce, post-secondary, workforce groups, and so on. Gives you a quick understanding of the green are the partnerships that have applied for grant funding, and the red are the actual recipients for the first 2 rounds of grant funding that we've held thus far. So how can the Department of Labor and Industry help? By supporting your local partnership. Like Miles said, you start with one high school, maybe 1 student, 1 employer, 1 cool machine, or 1 cool class. You have to start somewhere. I know that Hutchinson has been working at this for quite a while, so you can't go based on kind of where they're at today. You have to start, at the beginning where they started. We can provide technical assistance, work with interested employers, create guides and models to help you along the way, provide samples and forms. As I mentioned before, approve your YST program, award the grant funding, help identify safety training, and identify what those certifications or credentials might be for your industry. So there are up to 5 grants available, up to $100,000 per partnership. to create and implement these programs throughout the state in those 5 industries. The grants are awarded to local partnerships. It doesn't matter if the grant recipient is going to be the school, a chamber, is it going to be an employer. We don't care as long as you have the right partners in place. The money is used to coordinate and implement YST programs, and the money can be used over a 2-year grant period. So this money is really, this money is really designed to help you with marketing and advertising your program, recruiting schools, employers, and students for your program, to help provide any employer training that you may need to bring 16 and 17-year-olds into your facility, for student transportation to get the students to and from the work site, for staff to coordinate and monitor the program outcomes, and for student credentials and certifications. A lot of times there may be costs associated with paying for those credentials or taking a test, and money can be used for that as well. Funds cannot be used to pay student wages. So the students that participate in this must be paid at least minimum wage for all of the hours that they're at the job site. Here's a quick breakdown of some of the numbers for the first round of grant applicants and second round. Gives you the number of school districts, employers, post-secondary, other partners, and the amount of funding that was requested. Again, we only had $500,000 to give out for each round. Round 1, there was 2.38 million requested, and round 2, 3.16 million requested. So there's definitely an interest in this and a need for it. We had a battery here too. There we go. So the youth skills training grant recipients, round 1 and round 2, there's a quick list. I know I'm running out of time here. Goodhue County, Collaborative, Hutchinson, Twin West, White Bear Lake, and Winona were the first round. And those included IT, manufacturing, and healthcare were the 3 industries that those 5 programs were focused on. Grant round 2 just went out in January. These programs will not start until July 1 is when they'll actually start to receive the funding for these programs. And those are also in manufacturing, healthcare, agriculture, and IT. So it gives you a quick idea of who has received grants thus far. And finally, my contact information. It should be on the page in your folder as well. There's a 1-page handout that talks about youth skills training, gives you some basic information. Please feel free to call me, email me with any questions or any ways that I can support the great work that you are all doing. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Dan Solomon. I'm with the Minnesota Pipeline Program at Department of Labor and Industry, and we'll just wait and get started. Perfect. We're all set. Really appreciate the opportunity to be here this morning and share a little bit about Pipeline Program. This program can very well be seen sort of picking up in some sense where Rich left off with some of the youth skills work. So what the heck is Pipeline Program? It actually stands for Private Investment, Public Education, Labor and Industry Experience. It wouldn't be a government program if it didn't have a giant acronym that stood for something. You won't be tested on that, so don't worry. But the whole idea here really is about partnering with business and industry as well as educators to create really powerful and useful employment-based dual training initiatives for companies and organizations across Minnesota. We focus on 4 industries. It's basically the same as all of the ones that YST and Apprenticeship does. Unfortunately, by statute, we don't do transportation at this time, but that might happen, you know, if the legislature changes or adds that industry in the future. So the big thing about our program is it's really all about employment-based dual training. And when we say that, what the heck do we mean? What we're getting at is that you're going to take structured on-the-job training. You're going to pair it with some formal education, related instruction. Most typically that's going to be at a community college, but it doesn't have to be. That results in either the completion of a degree, a certificate, or an industry-recognized credential for the employee. And you put it all together, and hopefully you end up with a training model that's really, powerful to both the employee and the employer. You get a much more engaged employee and some pretty substantial benefits to everybody involved, both the employee and the company. And so when we think about dual training, what are some of the benefits that we see out of this model? Well, when we talk to employers, some of the things that they see that's a great benefit are, one, it's a great way to be able to recruit employees, because you're coming and you're saying, hey, come work for my company. You're going to earn a paycheck right away. I'm going to train you on the job, so you'll see some career progression, some career advancement. And, oh, by the way, either through the company's own contributions or through some state grant funding or a combination of both, we're going to cover the cost of your education. So you're going to walk away with either a degree or certificate or an industry-recognized credential, which at a day and age where college debt now exceeds over $1 trillion, it's higher than credit card debt in this country, to be able to tap into your prospective employees and say, hey, come for me, you're going to get some education and you're not going to have any debt from it, that can be a pretty motivating factor to persuade people to come and want to work for you. The other thing, though, that it's not just necessarily with new employees. This can work really well with incumbent workers too, and we see some benefit in retention for this as well. And we see it for a couple of different reasons. One, folks who participate in a program like this see that, hey, my company cares about me. They're investing in me. They want me to advance in my career. They're showing me what my career pathway might be, and they're supporting me along the way with this on-the-job training and formal education. That's a great place that's a great company. That's a place I want to stay. So we see some increased retention that way. We also see, very interestingly, when you do really effective on-the-job training, typically with some sort of a mentorship relationship, now you're building relationships at work. And there's a lot of good information that we know. The more likely that I have friends at my place of work, so now I've got a mentor who I like, I see him every day and I get along with him, the more likely I'm to stay. Yeah, maybe I could go across the street for a quarter extra, but I really like Jim or John or whoever, and now I got friends there. I want to stay at that company, and so that can be a benefit to this kind of a model as well. And then, of course, for the workers, they see all sorts of benefits, right? They see that earn while you learn model. They're getting their education taken care of. They're seeing some progression in their wages typically, and really being embraced by their company is sort of this culture of training, this culture of how can we continue to improve everybody through training and to be able to advance, both as workers and as a company. We do this work real quickly in sort of three big buckets. One, we convene industry councils. Our next council meetings are going to be on February 20th and 21st. Basically, these are an opportunity where we invite everybody from the four industries we work in to come and share, what are your challenges, struggles, ideas, how could we all, work more to improve this kind of a model for training so that it works better across our state. And so we engage with employers in that work. We also do competency councils, and I'll get to that a little bit more in a second. One of the things that's really central to this work is that it's a competency-based approach to education. And when we talk about that, like, what the heck do we mean? What are we actually getting at? What we're thinking about here is, traditionally, if we think about education historically in this country, it's been you go to school, you get this piece of paper, this degree, etc., and then you go get a job. Instead, with this kind of a model, through employment-based training, you're working right away, you're doing that on the job training, and you're pairing it with some formal education, all around a set of competencies that the employer has said are really critical to be able to be successful in that job. So the whole idea here being talking to employers, for example, and saying, okay, if I'm going to be a welder, what do I really need to know to do that job? And then breaking it down even further to say, okay, if those are the skills I really need to know and be proficient in to be really good at that job, what makes the most sense for me to learn through on-the-job training? What makes the most sense for me to learn through some formal education? Let's put it together, and hopefully you get that really robust, comprehensive kind of training model. So when we talk about a competency-based approach, that's kind of what we're getting at. And then the other piece that we do is we do dual training consulting. And really what that gets at is we will meet with any employer across the state who's interested in setting up a model like this to be able to tell them, you know, how might you think through setting up something like this with your company? How could we support you or connect you to others who are already either doing this work or, you know, interested in doing this kind of work? Those are all of the current occupations that we have as part of our program. You see it on the back of your handout as well. It's very important for each one of these. We lay out those competencies on what it would be to be successful in those occupations based on the feedback we get from employers. And we don't just a bunch of pencil-pushing bureaucrats at DLI just come up with these and add them just on a whim. They come based on feedback from employers when we add new occupations. So when we add new ones, what we look at to are, is it an in-demand occupation? So have employers asked us, they've said that they're struggling to fill this job? Is there some labor market data to sort of support that this is a job that's going to be around for a while and that it really is in demand? Does it offer a livable wage? We don't expect anybody to become a millionaire in these kind of careers, but with that said, we want to make sure you can sustain your family. If the state's going to invest in this kind of career training, career pathways, we want to make sure that you could be able to take care of your family in these occupations. Does it lend itself to some sort of a career pathway where you can advance in this work? And does it make sense for dual training? We believe that a lot of new and exciting occupations do make sense to be able to do employment-based training, but there might still be some that just don't always quite jive with this sort of a model, and that's okay. Those just won't be occupations that we work with. Just very quickly, a couple of examples of how does this play out. We've got one company, Design Ready Controls, which is based in like Brooklyn Park. They're a manufacturer of electronic components. So all the stuff that sort of turns on your refrigerator or turns on your air conditioning, your giant air conditioning unit, things like that. That's what they produce. And they've leveraged this for over 53 different employees, getting a variety of either bachelor's degrees or certificates. A couple of them are even leveraging the program to complete their master's degree. And they've really seen a benefit to, as they sort of refer to it, keep them on the cutting edge. Another example is a very much smaller company in Angora, Minnesota, up near the Iron Range, called Art Unlimited. They're an IT company, and so they do their work very small. They've got about a dozen people, but they've realized every year they need to add 1 or 2 more web developers. And so they've used the program to, just train and bring on one new additional person each year to be able to support them in this kind of a training and work. Lastly, there is some funding opportunities available for this program through the Minnesota Office of Higher Education. We partner with them on a program called the Dual Training Grant. It will open up for applications in April 1st to May 17th, and companies can apply for up to $150,000 to cover up to $6,000 for the cost of an employee's education. And so that can cover their tuition, their books, their fees, basically anything related to their formal education can be covered up to $6,000 per employee through this grant program. The other nice thing is that if somebody's going for like an associate's degree, an individual employee could actually be on this program for up to 4 years, could hypothetically get up to $24,000 worth of their education paid for. And so that is an initiative run through the Office of Higher Ed that we partner with them on. And just to give you a sense, quick map, sort of where these funds have gone over the years, it's benefited about 1,000 employees across the state, 67 different companies, primarily in manufacturing, but we're seeing increased interest in IT, healthcare, and even a little bit in our agriculture industry as well. And so that is just sort of a quick rundown of our program. I'm going to turn it over next to LaRohn. He'll give you a talk about apprenticeship, as pipeline is often very much can be a gateway to apprenticeship. And LaRohn will give you details and information about that.
Good morning. I am LaRohn Latimer, Minnesota Department of Labor and Industry. I am both happy and grateful to be here. As a matter of fact, I don't think you understand the sincerity of that statement. I am really happy and grateful to be here. Yeah, thank you. And I apologize, I'm just hopefully at the tail end of whatever it was that grabbed me. I think that I can be relatively brief in talking about apprenticeship because both Rich and Dan have done a great job of not only outlining their programs, but there's substantial overlap, and I hope, or at least challenge you and encourage you to look at the synergies that can be gained by employing all of these strategies. So with that, let's talk registered apprenticeship. Let's start with some of the myths about registered apprenticeship. How about that it only applies in the metropolitan areas? Well, as a function of my role as a senior field representative, I travel the entire state of Minnesota promoting and developing, emphasis on development, registered apprenticeship programs. So it is statewide, much like my partners or contemporaries here. We're always out promoting work-based learning. How about that the myth that registered apprenticeships are just for large companies? As Dan indicated, and perhaps even Rich before that, I think apprenticeship fits just about in every niche. If you're looking at yourself as a large employer, perhaps that brings that uniform and consistent method for training large numbers of folks in your organization. If you happen to be a small employer, perhaps it minimizes your exposure because you've got somebody that you're bringing up through the ranks that really captures the knowledge before it potentially walks out the door. After all, every day 10,000 people turn 65 years of age or older, and we must necessarily acknowledge the gray tsunami, the skills gap, and some of the challenges that we have with immigration and how that impacts your businesses. How about this myth? Registered apprentices will get trained and then leave the company. Anybody heard that or been concerned about that before? Audience participation, I'm trying to loosen you up a little bit. Feeble attempt perhaps, but you know, jokingly I'll sometimes say, what if you don't train them and they stay? But to the point that Dan and Rich made earlier, when we start looking at registered apprenticeship, we look at relationships, especially with the millennials. I think that's what we call them now, millennials, right? And they will often stay because they have strong relationships in an organization. And we can't understate that. How many folks are familiar with the Gallup Q12? I would encourage you, if you're not familiar with Gallup Q12, it really is a pyramid for employee engagement. And you'll see how registered apprenticeship, along with the other work-based learning models we're talking about, really plays into at least 10 of the 12 universal dimensions in that pyramid. It's Gallup Q12. How about all registered apprenticeship programs involve unions? Pun intended, while our foundation and structure is often rooted in the unions, it is not synonymous with unions. We've got non-union shops, we've got collectively bargained organizations, so it goes a lot. It's a very versatile model, if you will. Registered apprenticeship programs take a lot of time and effort to develop. They used to. As a matter of fact, registered apprenticeship programs in the past could take as long as, let's say, a year and a half to develop. But with this new initiative, we're working to, again, develop apprenticeships in non-traditional sectors. You've heard them: advanced manufacturing, agriculture, transportation, IT, and healthcare. So we realize we're engaging the business units and need to be flexible and customer-focused in our application of apprenticeship and making it user-friendly. So we now have service commitments, and I would like to say it's both kinder and gentler. Within 30 days of having received all of the information we need to get from you to put a program together that reflects your best practices, we can have a document ready for you to sign that can be registered with the state of Minnesota and entitle you to all the benefits that come with having a registered program. As a matter of fact, our partners at Deed, they're the fiscal agent. And so we've, as much as anything, worked to streamline and eliminate duplication of effort for administering and developing a registered apprenticeship program. Normally when people think of government agencies, they think of compliance, reams of paper, documentation, all that kind of stuff. Since we are dealing with money, of course, it is important to have your documentation in order, but more importantly, compliance has been replaced with technical assistance. And those technical assistance calls generally last less than 20 to 30 minutes. So we're very flexible, very supportive of what you're doing now as a business because we are in non-traditional sectors. We've already talked a lot about the benefits for both workers, employees, and of course the state of Minnesota. We've got a pathway to the middle class, a vibrant economy because your businesses are thriving and you're able to employ and engage folks at a different level. I will go back to, however, one thing that Dan talked about, and that's retention. You see, with apprenticeship, you kind of get out of it what you put into it. And when you've got strong mentoring that gives you the developmental feedback, we find those strong relationships, we find increased retention. And that, I believe, is the secret sauce, and mentorship is a necessary component of registered apprenticeship. Now you got to push the button harder. Well, we know that registered apprenticeship is work-based learning, in a word. There seems to be oftentimes a lot of confusion or a lot of ado about, well, what's an apprenticeship program? It's just work-based learning. It's work-based learning that lowers the threshold for folks to enter your organization because you've got a uniform and consistent way of upskilling them. And it also increases your pipeline because, again, you don't have to have qualifications A through Z to come and work for this organization. It consists, of course, of employment from day one. From a labor standards perspective, that's 32 hours per pay period and benefits eligible. On-the-job training is on-the-job training is 2,000 hours per year. And the reason why it's a minimum of 2,000 hours per year is to get quality and rigor into the program, and you're developing subject matter experts. The related instruction is 144 hours per year, and that related instruction is the technical and theoretical that really lays the framework for their on-hands experience. Those 144 hours, when you think of it, it sounds maybe like a lot, but it really is about 3 hours per week that employee is going to put into understanding that technical and theoretical. More importantly, the related instruction can look a lot of different ways. It can be community colleges, it can be e-learning, it can be internal curriculum you've developed, or a combination of all of those things. So if you say as an employer it's a value-added experience, we support it. We don't necessarily critique or review or qualify your related instruction. There is a progressive wage scale. As that employee learns more, they contribute more to the organization. As they become more proficient, then you correspondingly pay them more. We do not dictate wages. Again, we're sensitive to your business needs. However, as Dan suggested earlier, we are looking for folks or to work with companies that promote a livable wage, a family-sustaining wage. And of course, there's 50 hours of safety training, which is not listed up here, but that 50 hours is over the entirety of the program. Given my background in human resources, I've been able to work with a lot of quote-unquote gray and white-collar occupations to develop a very strong and robust 50 hours of safety training that is not just a wink and a nod, but it's value add. For example, if you've got, let's say, software developer, It's important that that person's station is ergonomically sound and that they're able to get up and do exercises that prevent carpal tunnel and a host of other things like that. So we're experts at helping you develop those types of things that go into your registered apprenticeship program. Of course, at the end of that program, they will get a nationally recognized credential saying that they are, in fact, a subject matter expert in a given occupation. I've already talked a little bit about our process for development. I will just tell you that we've got a very large data bank with the US DOL, and we will work to take any job, because all of them have, for the most part, been cataloged. The essential functions have been cataloged, and if it's a unique occupation, we will work and process that so that we can capture all the essential functions, and from those essential functions develop competencies that again are specific to your organization and your environment. And then there are a lot of other occupations that are just right off the shelf boilerplate, and you necessarily have to kind of follow it. For example, carpenters have a universal standard, if you will, but again, and now that we're in these non-traditional areas, we're willing to customize and develop standards on your behalf. So the Minnesota Apprenticeship Initiative, that's the grant, the 5-year grant that we're working under. 5-year, $50 million, I wish it was $50 million, 5-year, $5 million grant that allows for a company to be reimbursed up to $5,000 per employee after 90 days that that person has been on the job. The cost categories for which you can be reimbursed are apprenticeship supplies and materials, offset the cost of related instruction, and to pay for the HR time, the infrastructure, the time that it takes to either manage, maintain, or develop the program. It cannot be used for wages. So think about having both a pipeline grant, perhaps even a YST grant. Those folks graduate, you then have a pipeline grant to support them, and then they roll right into an apprenticeship program. You could potentially, like a number of employers here in the state of Minnesota, have a competitive advantage over others in your industry of up to, what, 11,000 or more per employee. That's substantial. I guarantee you it's not me, it's the clicker. You can, right on. You can go to our website and you can more handily see some of the organizations that we're working with. I can tell you that we've made our greatest strides in healthcare. We've got Fairview that's got up to 144 registered nurses as apprentices. And then in advanced manufacturing with welders, CNC machinists, so forth and so on. But it's a very exciting time to be in these non-traditional sectors, because heretofore we've always focused on, as a matter of fact, in the state of Minnesota now, 90% of all apprenticeships are in the building trades, but we've really shifted focus, we've added staff, and we're really working to provide high-touch, high-care customer service as we work with and for businesses to customize apprenticeship programs that meet their needs for recruiting, retention, and development of folks in their organization. With that, my time is up. I certainly thank you for yours. And I will be around for questions later, so thank you again.
I think one observation that isn't getting businesses to identify themselves as potential candidates your biggest challenge. I mean, you're out there, you're doing it, but the business world itself doesn't seem to identify themselves as candidates.
Well, and one thing that I would just comment too is that some of what all we're talking about, like they mentioned the skills and enrolling in the pipeline, enrolling as an example, if youth okay. I thought it was already on and just not working, you know? As an example, if a young person is coming to you as a new employee and you're going to put them into the pipeline program, if they're eligible for services with CMJTS, we may be able to have them in an on-the-job training contract through us and participate then next in the pipeline program as well as the apprenticeship. So there's a lot of opportunity for the different resources we talked about today to work together as well.
I think too, some of the businesses just feel that it's a lot of work. They don't have the time to do it. They don't know where to start. And that's why we're here. We're the consultants. We're here to assist you with all of that. And just raising your hand and letting us know, hey, I'm kind of interested in this, or I'm not really sure where to start. We can help guide you on that path. And a lot of these businesses, like LaRohn had said, and Rebecca had mentioned, is they move from one to the next, because we can help them as they're going through the process get to that next step. But really, honestly, like Doyle said, you need to raise your hand so we can help you.
Okay, we have one more networking break, and then we're going to set up for the panel, and then after that you get to eat. Okay, one more networking break now. Thanks.